but that's what we should do eventually. It's on my list. It's on my list to do. Welcome, everybody. We are here live with you from the Dog Gurus channel. So hopefully a few people are joining us and will let us know you're out there, because I do show that we're live. So that's good.
Always good to be live. To be alive, actually.
We do have a couple people tuning in, so that's awesome. So what we are going to talk about today is adding a membership program to your pet care facility. And this is a topic near and dear to our hearts because for those of you that know us, we love for pet care businesses to be making money. We love for those of you that follow us. You guys are usually some of the best pet care facilities out there. And we also know that sometimes setting prices in a way that allows you to have a good lifestyle, have a big paycheck, take vacations. We know that a lot of our clients sometimes think that's not possible. And we do think that's possible. And we love helping people to get there. And membership programs have, that is one benefit of a membership program, is it does help you with revenue. Some of the other benefits are it's great for the clients because they can get on a consistent basis and a routine with their dog. It's great for the dogs because they get additional benefits, and hopefully you can add additional services for them and they get on a consistent routine. So I really think memberships is a win-win for everybody, so that's what we want to talk about. But we also know that just within society right now, at least in the United States, memberships are a big thing across the board. And I don't know if COVID made it stronger, but I know it was happening even before COVID. We were starting to see a lot of membership subscriptions, a lot of monthly subscriptions for everything. I have a monthly subscription to my car wash where I pay them a monthly amount and I can go and get my car washed whenever I want. I have seen subscription boxes for wine. In fact, I was with one of those as well for a while. So monthly wine subscription where I got to pick wine every month. I did a monthly candle subscription for a while. What other subscriptions have you seen out there, Susan? There's a ton of them. There's a lot.
I even have a shampoo on recurring order and conditioner and stuff like that. Anything you can think of anymore, I think you can do a membership. And one thing we did find was some of our members and community who had memberships in place during COVID were much better as far as revenue and profitability because they had already adopted that model, and it made a big difference during the pandemic.
So if you look around at what's going on in your community and in the United States, especially, you're going to see memberships are common. This is not something that is foreign to your clients. And the idea that we want to throw out there is some ideas of how you can institute a membership in your pet care facility. And when we started with membership, Susan and I really were focusing on enrichment-based daycare, because that was a model of daycare we were trying to recommend people move to. And we still do that, obviously. But when we first started talking about that enrichment-based model of daycare, which is what we call Daycare 2.0, we were telling people, get people on a consistent basis attending your Daycare 2.0, because you want the consistency, because it's smaller groups. So you want to make sure your staffing is good, and you want to set it up so that you have consistent revenue, even if the person doesn't show up. So that was how we sort of got started into the whole monthly recurring membership scenario with dog daycare. But now we have seen and recommended so many other ways that you can use memberships. And that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, to hopefully give you some ideas for how you can use it. But really, the sky is the limit. The thing that you want to do with memberships, the ultimate goal, obviously, is serving your clients, because you want to provide them a good value for their membership, and you're creating loyalty by having that membership. But on top of that, you're creating monthly recurring revenue, which you can count on. So if you have X number of people in a monthly membership that pay X dollars a month, that is membership or revenue you can count on every month. It helps to even out that low peak times, which we know our industry has. If you can get a monthly recurring membership, there's a certain amount of money that will always be coming in, which is a huge benefit for your cash flow as well as for your forecasting. So You want to look at that. And then you want to just look at all the different ways you can do this. And we've seen it with daycares, we've seen it with grooming, we've seen it with training, we've seen it with pet sitting. There is no limit. So don't think, oh, because my facility is smaller or larger, or I only have this service, or I have too many services. Because believe me, we've heard all of those things. You can figure out a membership that will work for you no matter what your facility looks like. So I can guarantee you.
And even if you don't have a facility, you can have a membership. So
yeah, exactly. Some of the best memberships I've seen actually are from people that do in-home lessons or in-home dog walking or pet sitting or training or that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. There is a membership you can figure out for your business. So what do you want to kick off with, Susan? What are some things to first think about?
I think knowing your goal, it's always good to start with your goal. And I tell you, your business is ripe for a membership if you have a wait list or you have a service that's in demand and hard to get people into. That's a clue that a membership model would be easy for you to implement, because it goes back to, we've had a lot of people institute memberships because they actually wanted to have fewer clients and dogs. Their facility was at capacity and staff was overworked and overwhelmed. And so putting in a membership made that you could reduce dogs and still make more money, which I know is your mantra, Robin.
Exactly.
Do less work, make more money, have fewer dogs, and take the pressure off. But even if you're not at capacity, there's definitely a way you can do a membership. So I would think about the goal for the business, and then what service or how you would want to package a membership that you think would bring value, and what kind of loyalty, what kind of attendance do you want. The thing that a membership is not, it's not a way to package up discounts. And so we want to make that really clear. It should be increasing your revenue per pet. And like Robin said, it's bringing in recurring revenue, if not monthly, maybe quarterly or annually. And you don't have to do it every month, but monthly can be very good to have that revenue you count on. The Dog Gurus, that's how we started, was as a monthly membership program for the pet industry to get education and information.
And I would look at and I'm going to put a document that Susan put together especially for this Facebook Live. And I'll put that in the comments in a second. But one of the things you want to start out with is just looking at all the service options that you have, everything that you can provide value to your clients for doing. Make a list of why you're different. Make a list of the things you do. I know with one individual, we were talking about how she could package up a membership program. And I was saying, you could do extra cuddle time or extra this or extra that. She was like, we do all that. And I was like, great, but nobody knows you do that and you're not charging for it. And so you want to make sure that those things that you do, and I can tell you the folks that tend to be on these Facebook Lives and the folks that tend to follow us, you usually are going beyond the average daycare or lodging facility. So you usually are doing amazing care of the dogs. But what I would be saying is make sure that you're documenting all of that stuff you do that sets you apart, because some of those things that you're doing already, you could package into a part of your membership that doesn't cost you anything extra. You're already doing it. There's no labor involved or that kind of thing or expenses up front, but those are the perfect things for adding into a membership. So don't discount those. Don't discount, we already do all of that, because there may still be a way of converting that into a membership program. And another way of looking at it is looking at a VIP program, because a lot of times we have facilities that offer the basic, and then there should be another option for a higher level of service, and that might be your membership. Or maybe you have to be a member in order to get that higher level of service. That's another way of looking at it. So either way, you could have just, if you want the VIP, you're a VIP member, or you could say you have to be a member to get the VIP, and then they're still paying for the VIP stuff. I have seen some facilities where, because they have a long wait list and they're full and they don't want too many dogs, you have to be a member of the facility to even do anything with the facility. And that's very much like a gym membership, if you think about it. So you have to be a member of a gym before you can go in there and work out. And then you have to pay extra, even if you're a member, to do special classes. So it's the same type of principle in that sense. So you want to figure out what you're offering. and then just figure out what can be a benefit for part of your membership. And for these, as Susan said, this is not looking at how can you discount things for them. What you really want to add for your membership benefits are things that don't cost you much money to begin with. You don't want to add a ton of membership benefits that obviously the membership should be making revenue for you. So you don't want to add a whole bunch of things in the membership that cost you a lot in terms of payroll or expenses or supplies or that kind of thing. So you have to think through that. We'll talk about some ideas on that in a second. And then you want to decide what that's going to look like. Is it going to be monthly? Is it going to be annual? Because we do have some people that do annual memberships. Is it going to be quarterly? Like this, you could decide however you want that to work. And then obviously you need to announce that to your clients. So that's the basics for how to get started. I'm going to put this page 1 of this document in here, Susan, if you want to.
Okay. So yeah, we have set it up into 4 steps. Part of it is, as Robin was talking about, clarifying your service value. What are you doing that does set you apart from your competitors and putting a value to that? And then it's just packaging things. So you want to make sure that you also keep it simple enough to explain and not have too many choices, because we always talk about if your clients are confused by the options, then they're just going to say no and not make a purchase decision. And then you want to make sure that it is profitable in the long run. So that's why we warn you about not putting a lot of discounts in there, to make sure that you're charging enough to cover your costs plus a profit, including some of the benefits that you're putting in there. And I think the other thing about memberships is if you're setting them up for your most loyal clients, then you may have some requirements about how often they come and visit, or they're paying for the membership they pay for, whether they take advantage and use services or not. And again, the membership fee doesn't include the cost of service. That is likely going to be on top of the membership fee. So it's not like you're building in a monthly unlimited daycare package. That's not what a membership is. A membership gets them access and a higher level of service access than they would get otherwise.
Okay, so I can't seem to attach that document. So we have this great PDF. If you want to get that, just either comment with your email address or PM the Dog Gurus, private message us your email address, and I'll send it out afterwards. Because it shows the little plus button, but then when I put it there, it doesn't do anything.
I could screen share real quick if you want me to.
Okay, yeah, if you have it open real quick. I have it open with the JPEG, so I don't think it'll share as well as if you show it. Let me put this up. It's coming up now.
Do you see it?
I see the top half.
Yeah, I'm going to have to scroll. So This is what you get if you share your email the way Robin said. Is it starts out with why add a membership and how do I know if your business is ready? So that's the top part. And then the 4 steps that Robin and I went over: clarifying your service value, the options, putting your package together, and then putting your pricing in. And then do you want to show them page 2?
Yeah, because that's what I was with some ideas. And we can talk about that because we do have a couple questions about sort of membership package ideas. So some of the ones we have, where when we started out, like I said, we were doing a lot of consulting for membership packages for Enrichment Daycare. And those were typically, when we started out at least, they were typically annual memberships. And benefits included things like where most daycare facilities would charge for early drop off or late pickup, those fees were often waived. A free pet warranty, if you had lodging especially, that was often waived. And usually there's a small fee for that pet warranty, but generally that is a service that generates revenue for your business. So that's a relatively easy one. If you're not having a lot of incidents anyway, and you're running your facility, that's an easy one to give away as part of the membership. Typically with those daycare memberships, we were recommending that the client come a certain time of days and they get charged whether they attend or not. So the way that we always talk to clients about it was, it's like preschool. So if you have an enrichment daycare model, it's similar to a preschool model where if my 3-year-old is attending 3-year-old preschool and we go out of town one week, I'm still paying for her day in preschool. I don't get a refund because I took her out of school that day. And that's how the enrichment model of daycare, initially, we would recommend people setting that up. So think about things that you can give. For some clients or for some pet care businesses, it's that extra time that they spend making sure that they're reinforcing obedience commands. This is a great one for daycares that have somebody on staff that knows a little bit about, not necessarily a trainer, although it could be a trainer, but even someone that just has some basic manners training. They understand how to reinforce good manners, which, quite frankly, we recommend this for all daycares. Like, all daycares should be working on basic manners. They should be teaching dogs to sit at doors. They should be teaching dogs not to jump and not encouraging that. So why not include that as part of your membership to say, this is what we're going to do? If you're doing training and dog walking services, and this is really good for dog trainers that do dog walking, I can guarantee you that you're probably working with those dogs differently than just putting a leash on and walking out the door and hoping for the best. So you could include in your services that you're reinforcing manners, you're working with them to teach them how to walk nicely, you're stopping at the curbs, and maybe you do that anyway, but that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Package that into a membership to say, this is why my services are different. This is what our membership includes. Photos that you post on social media, that's very common. We see that in memberships. So the person is paying a little bit more so that they get more photos on Facebook, or they get a photo of their pet emailed to them or whatever. And we get a lot of questions from people that are like, I started doing this because it was really fun, and now I've got like 100 dogs, and so we're taking 100 pictures a day and emailing 100 clients.
Yeah.
And that's great if you can keep up with that, but why not make that part of a membership package and then say the only dogs that are going to get it are part of those dogs that are in the membership. So you're getting a little bit of revenue for covering that. So some of the other memberships, and you can see on this sheet, monthly daycare memberships for tiered levels. So we did start seeing a lot of our clients moving to monthly daycare memberships, where a lot of them started out annually. We also have some that do more based on a semester. So thinking more back to the school situation. And this is really helpful if your daycare, or if you're lodging non-COVID times, typically lodging surges over the holiday breaks when school would get out, right? And so a lot of our folks that were doing enrichment model of daycare, they stopped their daycare when the lodging peak period happens. And so that worked out really well to match up your membership as a semester. So the membership ended when school ended, basically. And when the holiday peak period started, now you just were surging with lodging, and you maybe didn't do as much enrichment daycare. So we saw a lot of that too. So either monthly or semester based memberships. We've also seen people just adding activities, and this would work for pet care facilities as well as anyone doing something in home. So pet sitters or dog walkers, where you're doing some type of an activity with the pet when they're there with you. That's in addition to what you would normally do. So for instance, if you're a dog walker and you're going and doing 20-minute dog walks or 30-minute dog walks, you could add a package on that's in addition to that. We're going to do some other activities with your pet, or we're going to include a puzzle before we leave. We're going to do a snuffle mat or whatever. So there's a lot of enrichment activities that don't take a lot of time that you could add on to that visit, whether you're doing it in person or in your facility or in home. And then for groomers, we have seen this sort of like the car wash monthly membership that I have. You could set up a simple monthly bath or quarterly bath or whatever, but you could do a membership where they're paying for a membership and they can come in once a month and automatically they get a bath, or they get a nail trim, or they get whatever, name your thing. There's some ideas on there for benefits like ear cleaning, nail cleaning, toothbrushing, towel dry, blow drying might be extra. And they pay that monthly service whether they use it or not. So it's not a matter of tracking, and maybe the person doesn't come every month, but that's okay. They're paying for that convenience.
So lots of ideas there. And like Robin said, we created that because we get asked a lot about memberships, and we just wanted to have a document that would help you get started and give you some ideas of what you can do.
So let me check. A lot of people are putting their email in there. So after this is over, I will send that document out to all of you guys. Let me see. So Rachel said, for some reason, pet sitting isn't all that great where I'm from. So I started selling poultry products, which is a nutritional product, which is great. And I think anything, you could even include that as part of your membership. If you're doing dog walking and they do a membership where they're getting some other service or product as part of that, sort of like the wine of the month club. The convenience of it. Let me see. So Nadine said, what do you consider when trying to establish, let me put this up here. What should we consider when trying to establish a membership fee amount for dog walking and pet sitting? That's a great question. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Susan? Just pricing in general.
Yeah, you want to make sure your services are profitable. So know that your dog walking and pet sitting services, based on how much time you're there, that you're definitely covering your labor costs plus any admin costs and support costs. Your fixed costs need to be built into that. So for a membership, it really depends on what you package in. And are you making your services exclusive only to members, or is membership an option? So you follow the 4 steps that we put into the document to decide, because these can be very custom. If you're trying to get more people in, you may want a lower cost membership that has items of lesser value in them. Or if you're trying to be more exclusive and limit your numbers, you may have a higher priced membership that has more benefits so that you don't take that many clients. So it really depends on your goal and what you're trying to accomplish by having the membership program.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing you want to make sure of is that you are setting this up so it's profitable. So you just want to make sure the cost of your membership products or services, and you're covering those costs plus making money, which is why we really don't recommend including a ton of high labor, high expense items in that membership. We want to work more based on convenience to the client, which clients value that, especially in the United States. They value convenience. We want to give them that ability to do things without thinking about it, that it's automatic, that they can get it no matter what. And then you want to package things that don't cost you a lot of money, or things that make sense from a value to the owner. And so some of those things, and again, Susan made a really good point. Part of this, for your membership, you really have to understand the goal, because if your goal is to build your client base, you're going to have a lower membership. If for most of the people that we work with, their goal is fewer clients and higher revenue per pet. And so for most people, their membership is going to be a little bit higher. Some of the most common things that we've seen, the early waiver of those early drop off or late pickup fees, or even the ability for the owner to do that. Maybe you don't offer that at all, but maybe for members you do. Maybe you allow members to drop their dog off a little bit early or pick up a little bit later within whatever limits that you want to provide on that. We've seen a lot of people that do the pet warranty as a free membership, which again, if you're not having a lot of injuries, which is what we would recommend, then that's really a value that the owner sees as very important, but doesn't cost you anything because you don't have injuries and accidents anyway, which is good. If you have lodging, or you have peak seasons that fill all the time, and they're going to fill, which for most lodging facilities is summer or Thanksgiving or Christmas, then having priority reservations. In other words, telling those members they get first dibs at making reservations, especially if you fill during those during those things. And so we get a lot of pushback on this one. So let me explain it, because we get a lot of people who go, I can't just hold a spot for them. What we mean by priority boarding or priority reservations is you offer it to them first, and they have up until a certain date to make the reservation. But obviously you can't hold it till the 24th of December for Christmas. You have to have a cutoff date, but what you're telling those members is you have priority. You can book first, and maybe even you give them the ability to select their suite or their lodging enclosure. If you have a lot of different enclosures, that sometimes is appealing to people, and you give them first dibs at that. but then a month before the holiday or 2 weeks before the holiday or whatever you want it to set at, you open it up to everybody. But again, costs you nothing. It actually helps you to do that because you get
Right.
reservations earlier. But the pet parent sees that as a value. A lot of things such as the monthly grooming is seen as a value because now the pet parent doesn't really have to think about it. They're just
Right.
remember that they're just going to know that they can come in and get their dog groomed when they need to get their dog groomed. So you just really have to think of those kinds of things that you can provide. Those are probably some of the most common things. What are some other ones can you think of, Susan, that we see a lot?
Yeah, I think those are the most common ones. The less common, and I'm glad Debbie's on because she has inspired some of this, is as an activity to even have access. If you're a smaller kind of niche provider, Debbie did this, that to be a member, they pay a certain amount every month and they either use the service amount or they don't. So it's like the only people that get her services are members.
Yeah, and so Debbie's comment was, I totally underestimated people that would want memberships, even if they're pricey. Monthly membership fees rolling in the first of the month. Wish I had done it way sooner. So Debbie had actually converted her daycare lodging facility to more of an enrichment based model for all dogs, and they didn't have a choice. But she did not start the membership right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's why she said she wished it had done it sooner. And we get this all the time when you're converting your program and services over anyway, that's a really good time to roll out a membership. Not that you can't roll it out at other time, but for a lot of our facilities where we're helping them to revamp their daycare to move to an enrichment based model of daycare, we just say start with a membership. And everyone who has not done that has always come back and said, I wish I'd done that sooner because people do want it, they will pay for that. And we did get a comment up here from Pamela. If you do these things every day, how can you justify now charging more? And then somebody else said, so these are both about justifying. Justifying is my biggest struggle when I run this idea by longstanding clients. So there's two ways of looking at this. Number one, I would repackage what you're doing. So I wouldn't go out and go, hey, we've been doing this anyway, but now we're going to charge you for it because obviously that would not go over well. And there may be clients that I just don't want to deal with. So there's two ways of looking at clients, longstanding clients that might push back against this. One is to say, I love that client. They've been a longstanding client. I want to give them a special deal and I'm just going to not charge them the membership. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is I'm going to change this and they're either going to come with me or not. And if you lose clients, you will gain different clients. And so part of justifying the price really goes to your mindset and making sure that you're valuing what you're offering and that you're worth the value that you're offering. What we see typically across the pet industry is way more people undervalue their worth than overvalue their worth.
Right.
And so that really does come down to not just comparing yourself to whatever someone's charging down the street. It's really looking at the first steps in that document that we're going to send you guys is making sure you understand how you're different from your competitors, making sure you understand how your background and training is different, what you're doing with your team and how that's different, and then making sure that you're charging for that. But I do think the easiest way to roll something like this out is to revamp your program to say,
Right.
we're going to keep doing, and this is how a lot of people start is they go, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Exactly. No changes, no price changes, exactly what we're doing. But over here, we're going to do more and we're going to charge a membership and we're going to charge more for it. And what typically happens, like 90% of the time, is people then start with these two programs and they very quickly have more people buying the higher price than the lower price. And a lot of those people end up phasing out the lower price altogether and moving to that membership or VIP option. But you don't have to completely get rid of what you're currently doing, but just repackage something better.
Exactly. That is a good way to start. So if you're doing a dog walking pet sitting service, how can you create a VIP version of that? And again, it goes to what do your clients value about what you're doing? And if you are taking photos, maybe now that's only available in the VIP version. The regular version doesn't offer that. And take your extras and put them into VIPs. And what you end up having are a client base that's very appreciative of the services that you provide, and they become very loyal, and they like the fact that they're a VIP member.
Yeah.
Um,
So someone said, how do you tell them it's use it or lose it? So again, doing this like tiered approach where you keep letting them do what they're doing, but you add an additional option that they can choose to do or not is one way of doing that. The other way we have seen it is that, and this works best for people who have too many dogs and are stressed out about the level of volume of dogs they're caring for, and they want fewer dogs but more money. And that is to say, we're transitioning over to this program, knowing here's the thing, if you do this, you're going to lose clients. And so that whole use it or lose it, they might decide not to do it. But if you're setting it up because you want to transition 100% to a new model, because you want fewer dogs, which is one of the goals that we've had a lot of people do a membership for. Their goal is weed out some of their clients because they're too stressed out. They have too many dogs and they're worried about the safety. If that's your goal, then you are going to lose clients. So you go into it knowing you're going to lose clients, but it's okay because the clients you keep are going to be paying more. Now, I know that sounds simple. It's strictly looking at the money. I know there's an emotional side of that. And that's part of what you have to deal with is that emotional side of losing some of those clients that you might love. But really, if there's one or two clients that you absolutely love, maybe they were your first dog ever in daycare and you really want to keep them, then just don't charge them, like grandfather them in. I wouldn't
Yeah.
grandfather everybody in though.
No, the use it or lose it, you've got to create something that there's a limited number of spots. So there's scarcity to it. And you have to know that you can provide that level of service for those spots. So that's why you can say you have to use it or lose it, because you are catering to having that service available to those dogs. It's just like Robin said, the preschool, they only have so many slots. And so the only way they can afford to have the quality of teachers is to know that they can count on that revenue and that space. And people, we get so wrapped up and think people won't want to do it. They will do it. They just build it into their budget and know that to get access to this, I'm going to have to pay, and it may end up being a little bit more of the year because I may miss some days, but that's okay. And so the way you justify that is you've got a limited number of spots. You have to have the staff there to take care and provide the service. And so you have to have the payment, whether they are able to use it that day or not. It gets harder when there's no other option. If you still have other option, then they don't have to upgrade. That's their choice to get to the VIP.
And so I love this comment, Debbie, as I almost said this, Debbie, and then I saw your comment, to be prepared for ones that decided they didn't want to go. If you're changing your whole facility and they said, I don't want to do that, I'm leaving, be prepared that they're going to come back when you don't have any memberships left. And I can't, Debbie was the first person that we saw this with, where when she changed over, and she didn't even charge a membership, she just changed her pricing structure and what she was going to be doing. And she did have some people, because she did have limited spots, she had some people that didn't want to do it, and then they did come back. And we've heard that story over and over, where as you're making this transition, we'll get frantic calls from pet care owners going, oh, this is so stressful because people are upset or whatever. And it's not a lot of people. Usually it's less than 5% of your client base. It's usually like less than 1%, but it's not a lot of people. But we all have that humanness about us that you could have 100 people say you're awesome, and then the one person who's not so good, you focus on that one person.
Yeah.
And so we get calls from pet care owners that are like, oh, pet facility owners that are like, oh, so people are mad at me. Every single time, a couple months later, those same people come back and go, never mind, I want to sign up. And sometimes you might be full by then. So this really is about understanding your value and what you can provide. And I can tell you that the pet parents today, again, look at society, go out and just start looking at all the places in your community that offer some type of membership subscription for something. Whether it's like you were talking about shampoo and stuff, Susan, my husband has Harry's So he gets shaving stuff every month.
Yeah.
We all know that there's dog boxes you can get every month, and it used to be just one. There's actually several of those now. There's a local place here that does makeup now does a monthly makeup box. So people will pay for that type of convenience for their pets. And whether it's you providing some of the other membership subscriptions we didn't talk about, but that have come out of COVID are things like that person that was doing poultry. You could do some type of membership where you're providing that food to them on a regular basis. Maybe you're giving them something in addition, like a Kong toy when they get their food or whatever. We saw Kong subscriptions and had recommended those in the past, but we saw them more frequently during COVID, where the client is paying to get stuffed Kongs prepared for them on a weekly or monthly basis. And when they're done with their Kongs, they bring them back and they get new ones that are filled. And I would totally pay for that service if someone would start it in my area, because I don't always want to put the Kongs together, but I love giving them to my dogs. So there's a lot of, it doesn't have to be just services. You could do this with products too.
Yeah.
And you could add any of those to a membership as well if you're doing anything with it, whether it's in home or in a facility.
And going back to the use it or lose it, I've been at the beach for 2 weeks and I pay monthly for a gym membership and I pay monthly for Pilates membership. And just because I wasn't able to go to class for 2 weeks, they didn't change how much they charge me for the month. But that way I'm willing to pay that because I know I'm not here, so that I have access to those services when I am home, and I wouldn't expect them. Now, my Pilates instructor does say, okay, you can come to other classes and make it up if you want to. And you could offer that if you had a day where you could have makeups. You could offer that maybe the 5th, if you have memberships that people sign up for the 1st or 2nd. And if you have 5th days of the month that is a regular rotation, you could offer some makeups, or if you have space available, do makeups. But it isn't necessarily something you have to do.
All right. So hopefully this gives you some food for thought. I did want to mention Nadine had a comment in here about wanting to transition her regular dog walking clients to future enrichment clients, which I think is a great idea.
Absolutely.
I think now there's a lot of enrichment toys and equipment you can easily put in your car and take with you when you go on your pet visits or dog walking visits, and then add that enrichment onto that pet sitting package. So now, and I can tell you, pet parents would love this, because pet parents want more than just, oh, my dog went for a walk for 20 minutes. If you can show them, here's your dog on the climb, or here's your dog on fitness equipment or whatever, even if they're not even that good at it, because that's the great thing, is they don't necessarily want perfection. They just want to see their dogs having fun. That's something clients will pay for. And it's something that's going to set you apart as a pet sitter or a dog walker. So adding that onto as a membership package, I think is a great idea.
Yeah, and that could be your VIP dog walks, is the enrichment activities included. But to do that, they need to be a member, because you've got to be able to schedule them into your plan first, and then probably regular customers work in around your VIP schedule. And so it's a great way to have a membership and then fill in excess capacity with non-members.
So then one last question. So Karen said, is a membership extra money or paying ahead for the month? I think
it could be either.
I think could be either. Generally speaking, the membership is paid for in advance. So they're either paying annually or they're paying monthly or quarterly. So they're paying for that. Sometimes it depends how your membership is set up. Your membership might include a certain amounts of visits per month. And in that case, then they are paying for those visits at the same time that they're paying for their membership. But other times it's the membership fee is one thing, and then their pricing is totally separate. So it really depends on how you set up your membership.
Right.
And then Kelly said, this is timely, just raise my rates by removing discounts. Awesome. Really good. Still offering multi-day passes. How do you do the membership and use it or lose it charging? Is it 2 different monthly fees? So I would say if you're going to do the membership where you're requiring a certain number of days, that I would just do that as one fee, if that makes sense. Because that now you've set up your membership where you're paying, let's just give an example to say you're going to pay monthly, and that monthly fee includes 2 visits a week. So they would just pay that. I would set it up so that they just pay one fee, and then it includes the membership and it includes those 2 days a week. And if, again, if they don't show up, they've already paid for it. So that's how I would do it. You could do it as an annual membership where they're paying one fee for access to things. And that, if you're going to do it that way, I would say it makes more sense to do your membership as an annual basis as opposed to having two charges every month, if that
Right.
makes sense. So that is more of a psychological buying process. Somebody's more willing to pay for a membership once a year and then pay monthly for their services than to pay monthly for a membership and monthly for their services.
And the advantage to that is you will most likely have that client loyal to you for the whole year of their membership.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, so hopefully this gave you some ideas. We really just wanted to get people thinking creatively about this. I can tell you that we started out with sort of a few ideas, and we have just seen so many creative ideas. Just go online and Google memberships, Google pet care membership. Like, you'll see all kinds of things. And every day we still are seeing things that are like, wow, that's a really cool idea. I never thought about that before. So really the sky's the limit. It's more about just putting together what works for you and what you think your clients want and what you uniquely can provide, and then setting that up and implementing it so that you can generate more revenue while also taking better care of the dogs, which is really what we want.